YouTubers, and Happy New Year. Welcome back to my channel, Andrea René Abroad, where I talk about Peace Corps, travel, and working abroad. It's a new year and I have been in America for 5 or 6 months. I got back in July of this past year, 2019, and I thought I would get on here to make a video about how to help you all integrate back into America after you have been abroad for an extended period of time. You might be coming back from Peace Corps, or you might be coming back from a gap year, but either way, when you're abroad and outside of the United States for an extended period of time, it can take a very long time to feel like you are finally present in the moment, completely back into your home culture. What was interesting about my experience of coming back to the United States was I decided to do a gap year following Peace Corps. So all of my fellow Peace Corps volunteers that I served with all went through reintegration last year. And then now I came back from my gap year and I felt very much like I had to reintegrate all by myself, and that most of my friends had already gone through that process, and it took me a very long time to feel like I was actually in the present moment. So I wanted to give you all a little bit of advice on moving back to America. The first thing that I want to say to you all is be patient with yourself. It is going to take a very long time to feel like you are actually present and back in the United States, that you're in your groove, you feel good, you know what you're doing, you feel energized, and there are things about yourself that may be different from before you left for your time abroad. So for example, before I left for Peace Corps, I used to be, I think, a lot faster at a lot of things. Now, that's not to say that I'll never be that quick again at, whether, I think the big one for me is eating. It takes me a lot longer. I would say maybe double the amount of time to eat than before, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I'm definitely always the last person in my family, or when I'm out with friends, I'm always the last person to finish my food. Something that I'm also extremely slow at, that I don't remember being that slow at before, is folding laundry. Kind of random, but it takes me forever. Another part of this was when I first started working, because I moved back in July and then I started working at the end of August. I'm a classroom teacher here in the United States. I felt so exhausted after every single work day. I think this is pretty typical for whenever you are hired for a new job. It just takes a while to get used to the new position, the growing pains of getting a new job. But I did not have any energy when I would get home from work. I honestly couldn't tell you what I did between 5 p.m. and going to bed every night. I think I literally just sat on the couch and spaced out. It's a lot to take in. During Peace Corps, I was working 30 hours a week and quite consistently, but then I did my gap year, and when I was doing my gap year, really all I had was my YouTube channel, which only took me about 10 hours a week. So really going from, just traveling the world to having a full-time job was a lot. So please be patient with yourself. It's okay. You will eventually feel good in everything that you're doing. The second piece of advice that I want to give you all is to set realistic goals. So when I first came back to the United States, I needed to move. I needed to buy a car. I had so many things that I needed to do. I needed to get a new phone. On top of everything, my parents were moving, so I couldn't even go through my childhood things. I literally had to move everything from my childhood home to my apartment and then go through everything. So it was just a huge process. Had to buy a new bed, literally I had so much on my plate. So you need to be setting realistic goals for yourself. So one of the goals that I set for myself is I said I will not start hobbies until October 1st. And now I don't know that I've talked about it that much on this channel, but I am trained in ballet and hip hop, which was something that I really missed during my time abroad, and I knew I was gonna start that back up again once I was stateside. But I told myself, I need to get settled in my new job, I need to get settled in my new apartment, my new life, being back in America. I won't start hobbies until October 1st. And that's exactly what I did. I went back to dance on October 1st and I felt ready at that point. Finally, last month, I actually joined a gym as well. Going to the gym was a huge part of both my service and my time as an au pair in Australia. And I missed it. It had been a very long time since I had gone to the gym and just lifted weights. It's something that I really enjoy. And then of course, YouTube. I left you all completely on the side of the road. I could not find the time to do, or really the energy more than anything. I did not have the energy to do this. So you need to set realistic goals for yourself because you are going to be very overwhelmed when you come back to the United States. The final piece of advice that I want to give you all for when you move back to America is to apply new values and practices that you learned abroad to your life here in America. Something that I have definitely identified is I do not get panicked or concerned about kind of mundane day-to-day inconveniences or annoyances in the same way I did before Peace Corps. In the United States, we're a very right now, my way kind of culture. And when I was abroad, it was very different. Had I had the same expectations for, let's say, public transportation being on time, or school starting on time even, or school even being open, when I was abroad, I think I would have lost my mind. So I had to bring my bar much lower, and I have really tried to hold on to that here in America because it is so much easier to be relaxed and just to breathe and be okay with whatever is going on and not to make a big fuss about things. So it's a little bit harder because I've been back in America for a few months now and I'm starting to kind of get used to those American conveniences, but I'm trying very hard to hold on to that ease of life and the idea that everything is going to be okay. Another value that I have really held on to being back here in the United States is being close with my family. I have always been really close with my parents and my sister as well, but I would say my relationship with my parents and also my grandma has really grown since I was in the Peace Corps. And I think a huge part of that was just seeing firsthand the Latin American family values. Really beautiful. I already had some of that just because my mom is from Latin America, but I was able to see it on a whole nother level. Just the kind of appreciation and reverence that children have for their parents in Latin America, I just found so beautiful. And I wanted to, kind of revere my parents a little bit more, be closer to them, check in on them, hang out with them. We started a new family tradition. I eat dinner at my parents' house every Friday now, and I also try to check in with them throughout the week. So there's just a lot of things that I found really beautiful in my time abroad, and I wanted to bring back here to America. So be thinking about that when you're coming back to the United States. What things have you observed that you would like to apply here? Those are my 3 pieces of advice for when you move back to America. Just breathe. It is going to be okay. Again, my pieces of advice are that you are patient with yourself, that you set realistic goals for yourself, and that you apply different values and practices that you learned abroad to your new life here in America. If you are on your way home after Peace Corps, congratulations on your COS and thank you for your service. See you all in the next video.